I'm Candice Lys, and this is everything that I thought I knew about teenagers. The children now love luxury. They have bad manners, contempt for authority, they show disrespect for elders, and love chatter in place of exercise. I'm the co-founder of FOXY and SMASH, which offers arts-based programs designed by and for Northern youth. So why would I open with a quote like that? Do you remember being a teenager? Do you remember thinking, why don't the adults understand? They clearly didn't. Sometimes adults would even insist they did understand because they too were young ones. But what have we as adults forgotten about being teens, even though we were them only a few short years, decades ago? Do you know who wrote the quote that I just shared? Even 2,500 years ago, Socrates was bitching about teenagers. And we're still complaining about kids these days. Oh, the assumptions that we learn. I invite you to remove those adult lenses while I share some stories from 5 years of my work out on the land with Northern youth and the lessons that they've taught me. Year one, we're excited and nervous to host our first ever FOXY peer leader retreat out in the Northern wilds with a couple dozen young women. My first memory of her, this one particular 13-year-old girl, is seeing her sad eyes poke out from behind a hairstyle that was meant to hide her away from the world. A girl who was so crippled by grief that at the first glimpse of a smile, she would burst into tears from the guilt of showing any happiness after her father's death. I thought to myself, what a broken, frail child. A few days into the retreat, she was creating her photo gallery. When editing the photos, she kept asking for ways to make them darker, and darker, and then darker. Teenagers get a bad rap sometimes for faking darkness to gain attention. She was experiencing a quiet satisfaction in seeing such darkness in her work. And then I realized why. I looked at her photos again, and do you know what I saw? Every photo is dark, but every one contains a small but pronounced light source, hope. Once she was in a safe space where she could grieve, she was finally able to express the darkness she felt, and it came with hope. She taught me that we all come from a place of immense strength, not the fragility I had presumed, and that within the darkness inside us, there's always light as well. The girl no longer hides behind her hair with her arms crossed. She's been working with FOXY for the last 4 years, and seeing her story unfold has been an incredible honor for me. After a very successful first year, we were pretty sure we had all these teenagers figured out going into year two. Well, the joke was on us. Our rose-colored glasses were about to be shattered. With the winds of change, in she walked, this young lady, who I now refer to as one of my greatest life lessons, did not want to be there, and she made sure we knew it. If Socrates wanted to paint a picture of bad manners and contempt for authority, it would have been her. She and I met through conflict after conflict over several days, finally escalating into a bead-throwing, screaming match and hysterical tears. And you might not know this, but bead-throwing, screaming, and hysterical tears can actually be quite cathartic and healing. We began to trust each other. The scene began to shift, and we were lucky enough to see a beautiful glimpse of her inner self.
I really want to thank Nancy and Candice for putting this together. Even though I was a meatball and I kind of wasn't really participating for the first couple of days, this is my main goal. Like, everything that I've learned here, I'm going to use it back home. And I think it's really going to make a difference in my life, and I really hope it makes a difference in your guys' life. Thank you very much, FOXY. Peace out. Home diggity.
She taught me forgiveness, and that everybody has a hidden struggle, and sometimes we just need to be loved, especially when we're being a meatball. Oh, year three. The ugly reality of abuse in all of its awful horrors. I had almost unbearable feelings of helplessness as I listened to a young woman recount her experiences of abuse and how it ravaged her esteem, her sense of self, and her everything. We were in a teepee out in the middle of nowhere with the sounds of the earth all around us. There was a drum song in the air, and we were lucky enough to catch it. as we sat together being gifted this song from the Creator, she taught me that healing is real, and it looks like the expression of pain in safe spaces. It looks like the vulnerable strength of saying, I need help. Out of a history of trauma, a song was born that continues to help heal the hearts and spirits of the wounded.
My tears are healing my heart, my healing journey I start.
So on to year 4. You know how sometimes you make assumptions that you're just not really proud of? This was one of those times. A girl came to us who had a severe learning disability. We agreed that as facilitators that we wouldn't expect too much when it came time for her to complete her community project, which is something that all of our participants do to help out their hometowns in the school year after the retreat. The other teenagers didn't seem to notice her disability and included her right away. Not like when folks are trying to be good people, but like how when folks are actually good people. I'm proud to tell you that I actually ate my words that year. This incredible human was the first to complete her school or her community project that year. In fact, she actually completed it in the month that she got home before school even started. She recognizes that knowing your elders creates a stronger, more connected community, and created a portrait gallery to honor them in her high school. She taught me humility and to question my assumptions as I attempt to never underestimate a teenager again. So finally, it's year 5, and we're about to do our first ever SMASH retreat for young men. We spent months talking with over 150 Northern adults and teenagers and organized a think tank for the massive undertaking of developing a program meant to break down traditional notions of masculinity and ultimately smash the patriarchy. We were warned and prepared for the possibility that we wouldn't be able to get guys to open up, to talk, or to be vulnerable. But we dove in head first because that's basically what we do at FOXY and SMASH. So fast forward to the last day of the retreat, and we're holding a talking circle while sewing moose hide. And one of the guys, somebody who'd been identified as a dude bro at the beginning, tells us about the time his dad took him mountain biking in the rain in an area that was closed off. And he was scared, but he couldn't say no to his dad. So he starts down the one hill, he loses control of his bike, he crashes, and he breaks his leg. His father comes over and tells him to get up, be a man, keep going. He's in extreme pain, but he complies. He didn't want to disappoint his dad. They make it back to town. His mom takes one look at him and rushes him off to the hospital. And the doctor confirms the break, says he needs surgery, and asks why he didn't, what took him so long to get there. And he says, it really hurt, and not just my leg. It hurt to know that my dad's need for me to prove myself was more important than my feelings. And then he said, I will never, ever treat my kids that way. And I was like, wow. So this program's going to impact like how young men raise their families one day. That's pretty cool. And then later on that evening, another participant was stung by a bee and had an anaphylactic reaction, which is quite the scary incident when you're out in the bush, I can tell you that. We needed to give him an EpiPen, but he was scared and he was panicking and he refused to let us. Well, who comes over to help with the young guy? The dude bro, and who had just resolved never to treat his children with the same harmful expectations of masculinity that he had suffered through. He kneels down, he grabs the guy's hand as he struggles to breathe, tells him he's brave and that it's okay to be afraid. We didn't need to wait until this young man was a parent to see his nurturing in action, and he taught me that teenagers are already changing our common discourses now. Because of him, we were able to administer the EpiPen without restraining the kid, get him safely transported to the hospital, and he actually joined us for pizza later that night, so he was all good. I don't think that teenagers are deficient young people, and I don't think that their fabulous qualities are even buried, deep, deep down. They're right there, they're before our eyes, and we just need to remember, as adults who think we know it all, to listen to them when they remind us of these things. Whenever I'm losing faith in politicians or the system, or feeling like adults are just kind of the worst, which sometimes we kind of are, I can check up on our foxy and smashing teenagers and know that we, the North, that we're going to be okay.
My family circle has grown. It's within me to return home.
Thank you for all I've been shown. I take my lessons home. Way-oh, way-oh.
Thank you.